We have 3 potentially big plays coming up in the stock market. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education, and a wife says to her husband, what would happen if Santa's team pulling his sleigh fell out of the sky? What would we call that? The husband just says calmly, it's rain, dear. The jokes might not be excellent, but the information is. We're going to talk about Enphase, Tesla, and Google in this video. I think each one of them has interesting technicals that I am going to share with you in this video. And I will also tell you in this video where you can find my buys and sells for how I'm playing this market, where to find my options course, and then also about Moomoo. In the meantime, I do want to get right into the charts. So here we're looking at the daily chart for Enphase, and you can see I have the resistance line on here and the price targets for you should we break up above that resistance line. So depending on how strong we go for the markets, if we do happen to put in new all-time highs for the markets, I think that's that soft landing scenario from the Fed that we're all looking for, so that we see them backing off on the federal funds rate, that they start making those cuts early on in 2024, and that the economy is able to stay strong, and that we see demand hold out enough to keep strong consumers going, keep the spending going. So if this turns into recession, these are things that could possibly, if that narrative plays out for recession, that we might not reach these targets. We want to watch out for that. Also, if we break down through this historic trend line that we have here for this sell-off, that's another thing that could cancel this technical play that I have going on right now. We are up above the 50-day SMA and EMAs, the support rocking right around $100 per share. So we do want to stay up above those moving averages. That is more of a bullish thing. If we cross back down below them, that could be a continuation of the bearish trend. We're looking for that reversal for solar stocks, and being in an interest rate sensitive part of the markets, this could be that ripe timing for Enphase and other solar stocks like it. So here are the price targets that I see coming up for us in the near term. Should we be able to hit new all-time highs in the market through the month of December, possibly into January. So I'm going to be watching for that, see if we get that Santa rally coming out for Enphase. Could be very, very interesting for us, and also a very profitable time for us if this does play out below this trend line, below the 50 days. This is something that does get canceled, so be on the lookout for that, and then we could just be waiting a little while longer for that reversal to take place. Pay attention to the RSI. Right now we're bullish on the daily chart. When we look at this, we just came back down from that overbought territory, back down into just bullish territory. And if we go out to the weekly chart, this is the even bigger one in terms of momentum for this, because I do think that we could possibly see a signal for a longer term trend going on, and that's exactly what we want to see in order to hit these targets that I have on the screen for you. And that's the RSI, which has gone flat over the last 2 days. We want to see that break up over 50 in order to watch these targets play out. So that's actually something that I'm watching for in order to take a position on this. Not only is breaking that resistance above 112, but also watching for that longer term momentum to be something to signal to us that there's a longer term trend here for a reversal coming in. And we haven't even come close to 50 unless we look all the way back in Monday, the 17th of April, 2023. During that week, we actually were able to come up and we got to an RSI of 49.15, and not since. We had to actually go all the way back to the week of Monday, the 19th of December, 2022. So that's a long time that we've been in this downward trend. I think a reversal could be on the horizon for us. We do want to be watching for that. We have a high top wick on a weekly basis here, which isn't necessarily great for us. That can show that the bears are currently in control, but I do think that it is possible that next week that we make a different story out of this, and we want to watch that. So going back to the daily chart just real quick, as we look at this one, we want to stay up above the trend line to possibly signal that reversal is still alive. We want to stay up above the 50 SMA and EMA numbers that we have here at about 101 and about 104. That would be even better for us in order to hold on to those as support, to keep on retesting that resistance in order to push up through and hit those other targets that are on here. So let's go over from there to Tesla. So when we look at Tesla, check this out. We have support from the SMA and EMA here at about 234 to 235, almost 236. So somewhere in that area when we look at this, and as a matter of fact, off the charts that we have here, we can even argue that down at 232, we have further support, but it would be good to stay up above what we have for the simple and exponential moving averages that are on here. The exponential having switch to an upward slope, so a slight bullishness there. And when we look at the simple moving average, we're still slightly downward. So we're getting a little bit mixed, but it is possible that we actually break out of this bearish trend that we have going on right now, the bearish channel that we're in for Tesla, breaking up above the top of this channel is going to be huge for us. We have resistance at 247 and 250. So we want to get up above those values. This is the daily chart that we're looking at for Tesla. The momentum right now is sort of sideways, but still sort of bullish that we look at this. And if we go over to the weekly chart to see where that puts us for momentum, we're actually just over the 50. That is a good thing for Tesla to signal a longer term trend for that. And again, interest rate sensitivity. I expect good news from the Fed next week. I expect good news from CPI and PPI next week. I think that this is the right time to make this video to put out for you for not only Enphase, but for Tesla. And then there's also another wonderful technical coming up for Google that I'll show you in just a second. Let me finish up talking about what we have here for Tesla. So I think that should we break up above 250, we have room to 260. If we break up above that, we have room up to 268. If we fall down through support, we have the 200-day catching us right at about 225. So be on the lookout for that. So that's if we break down all through that support, down from past 235, down to past 232, then we get caught at 225. And after that, then I think that that would signal to us that, well, especially crossing down below the simple and exponential moving averages at the 50 period level could signal to us that we're going to retest that 200 and possibly be in this bearish channel for a little while longer. So we do want to watch for that resistance to be broken. I do think it's a good possibility that there's a bullish bias that is called for here. And it is also possible that that's wrong. And if I am wrong about that bias, then you have my numbers for that for support as well, down all the way to about 225. Below that, then we could possibly go all the way back down to $200 per share. If I am wrong about Tesla, I don't think that I'm wrong, though. I think that that bullish bet is the right way to go on this one. Now, real quick, before I get over to Google, I'm going to take just a quick moment to tell you about my Patreon, where you can see how I'm playing this market. That is available. The link is down in the description for this. My buys and sells are over at the Discord, available through that. I also put up my Tesla and Nvidia stock price predictions there as well, and other research and news that I have out for you. And then also have my options course on the Patreon as well, which is free to all members of the Patreon. So go ahead and check that out. And then also with Moomoo, you can find that link down in the description. You can get 5.1% on your unused cash and also up to 15 free stocks depending on your deposit level. All right, I'm going to bring that back down and I'm going to put the charts back up, and we're going to talk about Google. So Google, this one I think is really cool because this is one that I think could play out in the very near term for us. So Google had a great day talking about AI and Gemini overtaking possibly ChatGPT, or being a direct competitor with ChatGPT and showing superiority over it. So let me shrink this up a little bit so it all fits on screen. There we go. So what we have here is an inverse head and shoulders, and our momentum is looking very ripe right now. Let me move it over just a little bit so you can see that RSI has crossed over 50 on this most recent day, really salvaging what we had in Google and possibly showing a cross between the 5 and the 13 that we have here. We do have a pretty significant resistance at 140. You can see last time we peekabooed up over that 140 that we did and ultimately get rejected pretty darn hard off of that level. So we actually peaked out right around 142. But check this out though. If we're able to break that, we could possibly see, should we get back up over 140 on strong momentum here, we could actually have room to hit that price target of 150. Now we do want to see it resistance at 140 solidly broken, so a good strong close above it. We have some excellent igniting volume here in the pre-market. Google is selling back off again, which means that we want to stay up above the 50 SMA and EMA, much like what we had for Enphase and Tesla. It's going to be the same thing here. Now, mind you, those moving averages have gone flat, slightly negative as a matter of fact, more recently. So that's actually something that can indicate a slightly bearish bias. If we continue to see resistance hold at 140, we can absolutely be guaranteed to retest this support and possibly even break down through that support. And that would really start to push Google down. In the meantime, we could possibly see 130 come out of that. That support, by the way, just to give you that level, since I don't have it typed on here, as at about 135, which we're not too far above right now. So we do want to see support hold. We do want to see this neckline be broken in order to validate this play that we have here with the inverse head and shoulders that we could possibly see play out for Google. And I think what's good for the goose is good for the gander here, that should we get good news from the Fed next week, resulting from their meeting on Wednesday, we also get good news from the CPI on Tuesday, PPI on Wednesday. So good inflation reports, good news from the Fed, also good from Michigan consumer sentiment. That's going to be a big one. That's today at 10 a.m. I think that this price target here is 150. And if we zoom out a lot more, we actually are getting close to taking on the all-time high for Google. That all-time high price, by the way. So should we break 150, we actually have a good run at the all-time high of 152 for Google stock. So 152.10 is actually that exact number that we have here. So watch for that inverse head and shoulders that I have drawn on here to play out for Google. And now, like I said, it is confirmed. Should we break out up above that 140, close solidly above it on good volume, then we have a chance at that new price target of 150. And I will say that this also goes with the prevailing thought that I have that we're actually going to hit new all-time highs for the S&P and for the NASDAQ 100 in December. I think that's a good possibility that we have that happen. If it's not December, we could possibly see it in January before we start to sell off and really settle back down again and really start to get our bearings set for the markets themselves. So I think right now we're in a little bit of a lull period for those markets, but I do think that we're going to continue to push up from where we're at right now, that we're going to overtake what we saw going all the way back to November through January of 2021 into 2022. And it is possible that we see those new all-time highs come in as that news of the Fed starting to go lax on their tightening and start to go more to a cutting stance or a more easy stance on monetary policy. And then also with inflation coming down and settling back down around that 2% level, I think we're going to be in a sweet spot in the markets for the next several weeks through December and possibly even into January. We're going to have to watch and see if that does play out. So Enphase, Tesla, Google, have each of them on your watch list. Come back to this video, write down the numbers that I've given to you guys. If you want to see how I'm playing this, check out the link for the Patreon down in the description. Come on over and join me and my community members that are over there. And then also that link for Moomoo. Go ahead and check that out. Click on it. Get access to a wonderful trading platform. It's where I trade my options. I can tell you I'm very pleased with Moomoo. Thanks, guys, for watching. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you in the next video.